Thank you, Andrew. I was going to say good morning, but I guess we're a bit late, which I don't know if it's the norm for an aviation conference or aviation altogether. We're about 40 minutes late, but I'm fairly certain that we'll arrive on time as well. My presentation is actually based around the passenger self-surveys that we just released last week. So the timing for this conference is quite good. We normally do 3 surveys during the year. The first one is the airline airline survey. The second one is the airport, and then for 7 years now we've been doing the passenger self-service because we feel that these are the main stakeholders. On top of that, we also do a baggage report because we can't really do a survey of the bags traveling. So anyways, what we do in the passenger self-service survey, it's a mouthful, is we survey 2,500 passengers across 6 major airports around the world. Historically, they've been 2 airports in the developed world, so one in the US, Atlanta, one in Germany, Frankfurt. Then we also have the survey done in Abu Dhabi, in Mumbai, in Beijing, and in Sao Paulo. We used to do DME so that we can cover all of the BRIC countries, but because of security concerns in DME, we actually couldn't really keep that survey up. So when we do the 3 surveys, what we do is we try to mesh the 3 of them up and see what is it that the airlines, airports are investing their money in, and what is it that the passengers are really asking for. And what we're focusing this year is how do you reduce the passenger stress through the different technologies that the passengers can use and are using in certain airports around the world, but then also questioning their attitude towards certain mobile apps, and then more and more, of course, social media as well. And is it a priority for the passengers? Now, on reducing stress, item number 1 is the loss of time. Now, I'm looking at this slide 2 ways, really. It's the loss of time, but it's also the perceived loss of time. You know, we're questioning people in the airport. They did not come to a security queue, for example, and start the stopwatch. They are standing there, they're fiddling with their BlackBerry or maybe looking around, or they don't know how much time is passing by, but they feel it's a lot of time, even if they've got 2 people in front of them or 3 people in front of them. And it's really the lack of control, which is the 3rd item on here, and the lack of information that's driving the stress that they feel that they're losing their time. And what we've done, for example, in Tampa, is we've got a couple of Bluetooth readers measuring the queue size in security. And then that information is actually shown on a FID screen telling the passengers, you've got, this queue is going to be 5 minutes. This queue is going to be 4 minutes. They get that information. It's easier for them to sort of plan their time to think whether they're going to make a call or not. So again, it's provision of information that's going to be driving their perception of lost time. What are the most stressful part of a passenger's journey? I'm fairly certain that this slide is no surprise to anyone. By the way, the slides or the presentation, the report itself is available on our website. So if you are planning to take pictures, I'm fairly certain that you will get more value just getting on the website and downloading it after the conference. We do provide it. We don't ask for any money for it. It's available to pretty much everyone. So anyways, this slide, 31% security. Security, again, it's about the loss of time. People standing around, people not knowing whether they get through security fast enough so that they can make their flight. Second item, transfer. Again, lack of information. Is the flight late? If I missed my flight, how long do I stand in line to get my boarding pass for the next flight? Again, it's solvable with items like transfer kiosks. KLM in Amsterdam has over almost 100 transfer kiosks for passengers that have missed their connection so that they can make it easier. Check-in and bag drop. Again, the world is moving slowly towards either assisted or unassisted bag drop, and trying to get the check-in process as easy, seamless as possible. I'll talk about check-in a little bit later. We've got obviously a huge infrastructure of check-in around the world. The question that comes up over and over again, why are we continuing to do that process altogether? Okay, bags aside, is it a useful part of the journey? Why do you need to have that extra step of going on your mobile, going on the web, and checking in? You bought your ticket. Well, get your 2D barcode as part of your ticket. Get your seat allocated to you as part of your ticket. You know, there's a lot that technology can do, but why should technology kind of override the inefficiencies of a process that is not required or can be changed to the passengers that really require the part of that process? Boarding. We'll talk about self-service boarding gates. Again, rolling out more and more of them. In Vienna, they just put in about 100 new boarding gates into their new terminal that opened up this year. So again, people are moving towards technology. Now, the passengers' priorities for technology adoption. What are the passengers really asking for? The top 4 items, the ones that are in the top left for me, right for you, corner, are really the ones that the passengers feel that these items will make their travel a lot more stress-free. So transfer kiosks, I talked about them. I've talked about self-boarding as well. Mobile flight search, there are a lot of apps out there. That's easy enough. And then the interesting one for me is actually the mobile status updates. The reason it's interesting for me is because in Orlando, for example, we have that service. You can log into the Orlando site, you can give your mobile phone details, and then you get updates all the time, automatically pushed through on any status changes of your flights. So gates, time, etc., etc. Less than, I think, 3% of the passengers actually sign up to that service. Now, it's not a tremendously expensive technology. It actually doesn't cost very much. But the passengers, are they afraid of giving out their phone number or putting their phone number on a website, or do they just not know about it? So they're asking for this technology. At the same time, when it's available, they don't seem to use it. The mobile promotions, mobile booking at the lower in the lower part of the graph, I'll actually talk about it a little bit later. Even though it's scoring low percentages, let's say, in this attractiveness index, it is also quite important in where are the airports, airlines investing their money. And again, airports, airlines investing money, it says fast deployment. Well, I think fast is really relevant to which side of the passenger versus provider divide you're on. I think from a passenger standpoint, fast, Emir said, good is not good enough, or good is not good enough when better is there. Fast is not fast enough, because the passengers really want it faster. They want to be able to print their tags. In Montreal, where the passengers print their own tags and tag their own bags, the airport actually found that the passengers do a hell of a lot better job than the agents do, because they want that bag to arrive when they arrive, so they want that tag to be on the bag in a proper way. Bag drop requires a lot of infrastructure investment. It's not a cheap item, and that's why there's very little penetration right now. Also, when you're talking about bag drop, it's got to be common use. It doesn't make sense to put in a bag drop station just for one airline. You need to be able to have several different airlines recouping that investment for you. Transfer kiosks, I talked about before. Again, low penetration right now. People are still having those agents serving the customers in long queues whenever something hits the fan. Again, transfer kiosks will stop those queues. The investment is easily recovered. I mean, KLM does not invest money easily. They've got over 100 of these kiosks in Schiphol. And then self-boarding. Self-boarding is really taking off. The major problem of self-boarding is really identification. on domestic routes in a number of countries where you don't need to ID yourself, they are a no-brainer. You know, passengers go through, it's easier for you to turn around aircraft. Whenever you start going into biometrics and biometric identification, it becomes a lot more difficult. So that's, if there's anything about self-boarding, that's really what is probably driving the fact that it's not being invested into enough. Attitude towards services via mobile apps. Now, I guess a bit of a revolution over the last couple of years. Most of you probably have not noticed it because it was just natural. But we were in travelers. In travelers, generally, what we find is the use of smartphones is much higher in the people traveling than in people that don't travel. Maybe it's because of the number of business travelers that are out there, but in 2010 it was less than 30%. Okay, decent penetration, but not you know, huge. Now it is, this year it was 70%. And again, I mentioned the airports that we do the survey in. This is a vast, you know, this is a good representation of what's happening around the world. And therefore, are the airports, airlines using mobile or smartphones and mobile apps enough for their passengers? Now, mobile check-in, mobile boarding, I think these are kind of the operational, practical things. If they're available to the passengers will use them. Swiss has been doing web to mobile for a number of years. You know, you basically go through check-in on your computer, and then you send your mobile to your cell phone. No paper, easy, very sustainable. You know, no wastage. Passengers would like to use it. The percentages are going up steadily. There seemed to have been a bit of a blip last year, going from 23 to 24%, but then you see it rising again to 32. Again, the question is, you know, is check-in a process that needs to be around for a long time? Channels and check-in channels. Really, multi-channels, and we've been talking about multi-channels now since the survey's been released for about 7 years. Passengers want choice. They want to check in on the mobile, they want to check in on the kiosk, they want to check in online. Percentages are increasing. All of this increase is taking space away or taking time away from the agents checking people in. So that's really the only part of the process that is reducing. In fact, last year, in the people surveyed, was the first year when the self-service check-in actually exceeded the number of people, percentage of people that are checking in using agents. Again, the question is the check-in process something that is sustainable, to use the words of Kati? Booking. Now, booking is an interesting one because, you know, whereas people will, no problem booking on the web or a kiosk, booking on the mobile phone, do you really, unless you really know the flight that you want, you know, are you going to be getting enough choice on that screen? So yes, there is an increase. It goes from about 5% on self-service. Overall, it goes from 5% to 12%, which to me, again, is a fair enough, a very nice increase, but it's not to the same tune as the rest of the, let's say, of the rest of the passenger processing process. And mobile commerce. Now, when we talk about mobile commerce on this slide, this is really booking flights on the internet. Now, Mumbai scores very high, but whenever we ask passengers in Mumbai questions like this, they normally score very high. I mean, we had a couple of years where there was no self-service or mobile infrastructure in Mumbai. We still scored very high in that range. So it just maybe it's the attitude of people flying out of Mumbai. But overall, you know, you get Atlanta, you get Frankfurt that are fairly reluctant to book using the mobile phones, whereas I think in the further east, Abu Dhabi, Beijing, Sao Paulo, you're getting you know, decent amount of people wanting to book on that. But again, is it because the travelers out of Atlanta and Frankfurt may be a little bit older because the public is older, or is it because people are really reluctant to book something on a fairly small screen phone? Mobile advertising. Now, I had a long discussion with our marketing folks on this one over the last couple of days, because last year it was 19%. The global average was 19%, but apparently we asked the question a little bit different. To me, the 57% is high. I'm not sure. I'm fairly certain if I ask people in this room who wants to get ads by SMS, I'm fairly certain I'm not going to get a lot of hands up. I'm not even going to ask the question, but 57% is high. And it actually goes up even higher if people can pull through, can control their messages, can get the information on their own. So these two slides are a little bit of a question mark for me, and we haven't really had enough time to analyze, why are people saying that they do want to get mobile advertising. Mobile apps and mobile commerce addressed by airports and airlines. And again, I showed this type of slide before. You've got to do a little bit of math on this slide. You've got to add the bottom number with the top number to get where it's going to be in 2015. So we're going, for example, from 10% to 71% on selling airport services. This is what the airports are planning to invest in. Now, again, questioning the item about how many passengers will use it, I'm reluctant to say that this is going to be an investment that is properly made. Now, I'm running through this. I know it's getting late, but the data, the reports are available to you guys. I'm happy to answer questions afterwards as well. Again, this is a big question mark for me because we're comparing social media and mobile. Now, when we say mobile, it's mobile apps, but to me, mobile is like a hardware device. Like, do you want to get this information when you're on the run? Social media for me is a software platform. Do you want the messages to come in via Facebook, or do you when you're sitting down, or do you want them via Facebook on your mobile? So, but again, in the questions that we asked, we're getting much higher response for people wanting the information on the mobile phone rather than through Facebook or any kind of other social media. And I guess that's it. So, thank you very much.